How you guys doing? Thank you for coming back to my channel. I'm really grateful. If you are watching this video right now, please leave a like, comment, subscribe if you can, and show a friend, right? That's obviously what we're here for. So I wanted to go ahead and talk about the NBA Finals. I wanted to wait until the series was over. I didn't want to do a Game 6 reaction video. Just kind of wanted to appreciate the series as a whole. Sometimes we can get too reactionary over the course of the series, and I just wanted to see how it all accumulated and how it ended. I mean, Indiana, they were amazing Game 6. They blew the lid off of Oklahoma City. They ran away with it. They wanted to play. They showed some fight and some heart, and they were at home, and they were carried by that energetic crowd there at the Fieldhouse Center, or Fieldhouse, whatever they call it. But definitely a lot of fun to watch from someone's perspective, of someone who was rooting for Indiana, obviously. If you've been in Indiana, or if you live in Indiana these last 2 weeks, you're a diehard Pacers fan. Even if you don't watch basketball or even know who the Pacers are, you are a diehard Pacers fan, or at least you have been for the past 2 weeks. So that was definitely fun, but it's over. Ultimately, Oklahoma City came away with the win, Game 7 on Sunday night. So started off hot for Indiana, for both teams. Halliburton hit 3 threes. He had 9 points. You know, looked to be having probably his best game of the entire series, if not the whole playoffs. And what do you know? He went down. And I was going to make a video last night, and it got late on me, but all I kept thinking is I really hope it isn't a tear, because they kept calling it an Achilles injury on the broadcast. And lo and behold, it is a tear, and that sucks. That sucks if you're a basketball fan, if you're a Halliburton fan, if you are Tyrese Halliburton, God bless him and his family. We're going to wish him, obviously, a speedy recovery. So that was unfortunate. But needless to say, the rest of the game was still rather entertaining for as long as it possibly could have been. TJ McConnell with another impressive performance. I mean, this guy, Game 5, 6, and 7, he was probably, to me, the most entertaining aspect of the series, because it's just like, where did this guy come from? In Game 7, you know, he scores like 12 or 14 straight points for Indiana. And as entertaining as that was, ultimately, I think that kind of was their undoing, because no one else was scoring. TJ McConnell was going on and, you know, doing everything. You're not going to beat this team with just TJ McConnell. You're just not. And I don't want to pretend that I know more basketball, or like I'm somehow smarter than Rick Carlisle, because he coached his ass off in this series. Even when Tyrese Halliburton went down, they never quit. They still fought. Even when they got down, they fought and they fought and they fought and they fought like it is that they still had a chance. But when McConnell was on this streak, it's like, where is Siakam? You let Siakam sit for entirely too long. And eventually it got to a point later on in the third quarter where everything that McConnell was doing good offensively was being negated by either Oklahoma City going down and scoring, or eventually him turning the ball over. He had some pretty bad turnovers that did negate some of the good stuff that he did. And I felt like if he was as hot as he was with Siakam still on the court, they probably could have done some stuff, right? And probably could have stayed in that game. But truthfully, that's the kind of game that we saw Oklahoma City play this entire postseason, where they play these back and forth games in the first half, but eventually they wear on you. And then once they go on these 9-0, 10-0 runs, before you know it, you're down 18 points and you don't have a shot, because they're squeezing the ball out of you, hacking you, you know, blocking your shots. Hartenstein coming out of nowhere, Chet Holmgren making you feel like you got to be careful putting anything up. So ultimately, I loved both of these teams. It was the first Game 7 that we got in the finals since 2016, since the infamous 3-1 comeback from Golden State, or by Golden State blowing that 3-1 lead. And I think it ended up being one of the highest ratings as far as rated finals games, as far as people watching. I think it did really well. I think they'll be really impressed with the ratings that it did. That was good series. That was a good series. That was a good postseason, a great postseason. We saw some young stars emerge. You know, Paolo Banchero, Cade Cunningham. They were competitive in their series, even though they went home in the first round. Nobody saw Indiana being as competitive as they were. Denver had 2 awesome 7-game series, so it was a phenomenal postseason. Changing of the guard is happening. You are getting new stars in the league, new superstars. Seems like the guys that we grew up watching, if you're in my age demographic, are slowly becoming less important. Maybe to the marketing of the game, they're still as important, maybe as important as ever. That's an argument to be had, but all the old guys, for the most part, went home early. So changing of the guard and what it means to build a contending team is changing. What it means to have a team that can win a championship is different than it was 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, but 10 to 15 years ago for sure. I mean, the landscape of the NBA has definitely kind of shifted in a way that I think benefits the fan, right? It makes the game more enjoyable. So that was unfortunate that he had to go down. So if you are Halliburton, you got to be crushed. I mean, you fought everything you had to be out there to even play, and then the Achilles tears. And that's just one of those sucky injuries, man. It sucks. It sucks for everyone. It could go either way, right? Because you know he's going to be out all of next year as well. You know, we'll see you in 2026, fall of 2026. That's what that means. You know, you tear your ACL this time of year. So it is unfortunate. But if it is that he can come back and be what it is that he's become, I do think that they're set up for success. I just think that they ran into an all-time defensive team, an all-time elite team, all-time cohesiveness. Sam Presti, I think it'd be hard for you to find a second-best GM in the league or someone better than Sam Presti, excuse me. The team that he's put together is scary. They've got length. They all do what the other person can't do. They all fit. Highest scoring margin ever. Most 10, 15-point, and 30-point victories ever. 64 out of their 68 regular season victories were by 10 or more points. So all-time dominant team led by their all-time elite guard. You got to give it to them. First team All-NBA, scoring champion, MVP, Finals MVP. First time that's ever happened since Shaquille O'Neal in, I think, 2000. Michael Jordan did it 4 times, which is freaking crazy. Like, we're getting ready to crown this guy, you know, first or second best player in the league. Michael Jordan did this 4 times, and then Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So he joins an elite list, and then, like we were talking about in the previous video, as far as guards go, Jordan's the only other guard on that list. So wonderful season by him, amazing season by him. You know, it's definitely going to change the conversation. Today, I still think Jokic is the best player in the league. But, you know, another year of this dominance by SGA, then we can revisit the conversation. If Jokic doesn't assert his dominance or speak up for himself, then I think it could be time to have that conversation about who actually is the best player in the league. So that was pretty cool. But back to what I was saying about the earlier comment about what it means to be a contending team and how to build a contending team. These teams aren't won in July, these chips aren't won in July anymore through free agency. These teams are won in the draft. These teams are won through the lottery. These teams are won through trades that are smart trades, you know, i.e. trading Paul George for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and a bunch of picks. I mean, that's a layup if there ever has been one, right? In hindsight, especially. But this team was built from the ground up. You know, if you're going to go out and put a bunch of stars together and put them on the same team, i.e., you know, the Heatles, you know, the Warriors to some extent, and even a lot of teams that we've seen have tried it in that era didn't work out. But now it's not going to work out because you're paying too many guys, and they're going to have 10 guys on the other side, and you got 3 guys and no bench. You're just not going to stand a chance regardless of how impactful you think these guys are. And that kind of leads me into my next transition and another thing that I wanted to talk about. The other big news, the first big drop, I mean, Desmond Bane, I guess, was the big one, but Kevin Durant has been traded to the Houston Rockets for Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, a first-round pick, and 5 second-round picks. I love this trade for both teams. I love it for Kevin Durant. I think it's a good spot for him. They don't need him to be the leader. They've already got an elite coach. They've got an ascending player in Şengün. Only thing that we need you to do is come here and give us 26, 27 points a game, which only thing we need you to do. But, I mean, we see that Kevin Durant can still do that. It just hasn't translated to winning since he left Golden State, which I don't think is totally his fault. You know, he tore his Achilles, and he got healthy. Then he had, like, some injury stuff happen, you know, with Kyrie Irving. His foot was on the line, or it wasn't on the line in that series. I was actually at that game when Kyrie went down against Milwaukee. That kind of turned that series around because they were running through people up to that point, even Milwaukee. And then Kyrie went down, Harden went down. They just weren't the same. So, and then that culminated in him hitting that shot where his toe was on the line, and it's kind of been downhill since. But since then, we've seen him not make the playoffs, and we've seen him get swept in the Eastern Conference, and we've seen him get swept in the Western Conference. So where does this kind of leave us? Where does this leave Kevin Durant? I don't think this is the day to have the Kevin Durant legacy conversation. I think there will be a time for me to unpack that and some of the things that how I feel about Kevin Durant. Because personally, I would have rather had Giannis. But if you're the Rockets and you got Şengün, you don't need Giannis. And for that value, you know, because you'd probably have to give up Şengün to get Giannis or make it fit however, I think this team made the right call by going out and getting Kevin Durant, because you saw it in the playoffs. I mean, I think Jalen Green got exposed. He had like 38 points in game 2. Every other game in that series, he had single-digit points. So you knew that wasn't going to work. You knew that wasn't sustainable. You know, that's a guy who can't create his own shot at this stage in his career. Maybe he will one day, but at this point, you know, Kevin Durant is still getting his own shot. You know, he'll get his own shot when he's 50, right? He's 7 feet tall, dribbles like a guard. You know, he'll be able to pull up over guys forever. So I think the Rockets nailed it. I think this makes them a legitimate contender. I love Ime Udoka. I think he's an elite coach. I think he's done a really, really good job there in Houston, and I'm excited to see what they do. So the culture's already set. He doesn't have to be a leader. You know, we know that's not what he is. We know that's not who he is. He's tried it. It's never worked out. Like I said, I'll do a video one day going into Kevin Durant's legacy and how I feel about him and where I'd rank him all time. I still think he's a top 20 NBA player today. I just think kind of like LeBron, where those guys are is they can have 28 points and lose, and then you see guys like Tyrese Halliburton where they score 15, 16 points, and it's super impactful. Every basket is a huge basket, and somehow that's more valuable than what they give them. It's a weird argument to make, but that's just kind of where it is that it looks like we are right now. So I am excited for Kevin Durant. I don't want to sound like I'm pushing him. He needed to get away from Phoenix. Like I said, some of the things that have happened since he left Golden State haven't been all the way his fault. I mean, Devin Booker is a fraud. Bradley Beal has the worst contract in NBA history, probably. They gave away all of their bench, all of their trade assets, everything that they had to go ahead and acquire these two talents, and it just didn't mesh well. And that's kind of what I mean. You have to be able to build a team through the draft, through your needs, have a nucleus, build from the nucleus to the outside. And Phoenix was just a disaster. More or less, you can say the same thing about Brooklyn, but I feel like there was a different set of circumstances there. So we'll just have to see what happens. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up. The next video that I'm going to do, I was going to squeeze it into this, but I wanted to get a bit more in-depth because I actually got some pretty in-depth things that I want to say. But my next video is going to be the Carter 6 review by Lil Wayne, his newest album. I am working on it right now. Going over that album again, taking some notes on it, things like that. And I will say the album is kind of growing on me. When I first heard it, I hated it. So tune into that. Like I said, give me a like, comment, subscribe, show a buddy. If there's anything that you guys would like me to do a video on or like me to explain, I'd be more than happy to. Please share your thoughts down in the comments. I want to have as much engagement as possible with you guys. This is the reason why I'm doing this. And please come back next time. You guys have a good night. See you soon.